Okay, Dave Petzo, we could talk on and on and on off the air, but that would be rude to the listening audience. Our great friend Dave Petzo joining us, Kevin Miller in the morning here at KIDO Talk Radio. Good to have you with us.
It's great to be here, Kevin. Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas. Of course, this will be the last program with you and I for the year.
That's right. Yeah, you're right. Gosh, we've got holidays coming up for a while.
Next week is Christmas, and then the week after is New Year's.
Yeah, well, Merry Christmas. That's kind of sad. Let's knock this one out of the park, okay?
It's kind of sad.
Well, I just it seems depressing. I don't get to see you like for 3 weeks.
Some people would think that would be a good thing.
Well, they might, but
wow,
they don't know you as well as I do.
I'm touched. Now,
You're a good man.
I'm going to say something to you that since it was in the media, I feel confident of saying that you have set a match of $100,000 to help the Boise Rescue Mission. Something,
yes, sir.
And some folks that are near and dear to your heart. In your own words, this is the first time you've done this. Can you please explain this? By the way, thank you for your generosity.
You're welcome. It's really it was. They move me. They do to you too, Kevin. I know. I see it, and you're there at every event that they have.
Well, hold on, and let me just just to add a little humor. On what was it, Friday? I get there a little late for the Christmas banquet, and I hear Dave Petzo's looking for you. The first thing he says is, "Where's Miller?" but I can see, and you've donated for years. You were really touched by going to the Christmas banquet, being on the board. And again, I apologize for interrupting, but I just thought that was just a moment of laughter in the season of giving.
That's right. Well, it's as you know, Kevin, the stories that they have of changed lives is just it's moving. I mean, you just can't possibly go like for a tour. And of course, anybody that wants to see what they do, they have tours and are happy to take people through and show everybody their veterans programs and their alcohol, drug rehab, the children and what they do for them, getting them clothes so that they look normal, getting them to school. Having programs after school for the kids, keeping them off the streets, and helping the parents heal. It's moving. They're fantastic people, so I'm happy to do it.
What was it like for you to attend? Because I see you in a business setting, and there you are having dinner with all the folks coming in. That might be their only Christmas dinner.
Yep.
Is the one that happened last Friday. What was that like for you? I had a chance to take a look at you. You seemed very, very circumspect, just kind of taking it all in.
Well, it was, and the thing was too. I had an opportunity to go see. Roscoe took a few of us over to the sanctuary where they had the toy, what they called the toy room at that point. And I know you've seen this before, but in out in Nampa, I did not make the Nampa one. But it apparently is much larger. They do thousands of families, and they have them all bagged up. So they literally come in and go, here, Kevin. You're with the Millers, and you check it off, and then you get a big bag, and it's custom design. The logistics of doing that, and all the meals that they let people take out of there as well as serve. It's one thing to serve meals. People don't realize the logistics that goes behind. They work with Toys for Tots. They work with a lot of great groups to pull this off, but it's amazing, all the volunteers and the logistics of putting on something like this.
Well, and I think Wells Fargo still does the toys, and the volunteers from Wells Fargo come in, and it's just amazing. It really is a tale of two worlds when we're talking about people at the grassroots level, and then you talk about what's going on in Washington with, we're going to run out of money. We're going to have the big vote on tax reform. You've been to D.C. You've met with the bigwigs. Again, very, very different worlds that we live in. Both impact us, but, a lot of us, thankfully, can't relate to either. Your thoughts on the continuing resolution? I mean, if you ran Petzo Financial like this, I don't think
there wouldn't be anything to run.
Right. But as a successful businessman, as an employer, your thoughts on the government going, well, we're going to have to do another continuing resolution.
Yeah. They have to, because politically the Republicans lose if the government shuts down. I don't know why, but that's always been the case. It doesn't matter when Clinton was the president or if a Republican is the president. If the government shuts down, by golly, it's a Republican's fault. Now, that's the mainstream media that loves the Democrats. I get that, but it's still politically they have to go along and continue to push kick this can down the road. My hope is that at some point we do come up with a longer-term solution than just passing every couple of years some kind of continuing resolution. But we forget also how impactful that can be, and that is under Obama, they did allow the government to continue to operate, but only after, what did they call that thing, sequester? Was that the...
Sequestration, which... Here's the other thing. We're still under that because you have people that work for the government, that work in the military, and this is a great gig if you can get it, that work 4 days a week.
Yeah.
Now, I guess their pay is cut because they're only working what they're working, but they still have a job, and they can either take a Monday or a Friday or a Wednesday off. That's a good gig if you can get it.
That's a good gig. I think we should do that.
I think everybody would take Monday off.
I think you're probably, Friday's good, though. Friday's really good day.
I'm with you. Everybody takes Friday off. See, that's the beauty of it, because there's going to be less people working on Friday.
Right.
So you stand out more, and everybody comes back on Monday. Just a thought.
Yeah.
Not that I've given it a lot of thought, but...
it sounds like you've thought it through very well, Kevin.
Yes. It's a dream of mine I have. But sequestration, again, working within the limits of the budget.
Yeah.
So here we have this continuing resolution coming up, and the Republicans have to pass something. And, of course, the Democrats are going to try and get some pet programs through.
Right. And they'll come, and it does, but it really does restrain spending. I believe it was somewhere around $1 trillion that were less deficit because of sequestration under Obama. Because we all know. I love hearing this now. I thought this was so funny when I was on Saturday when I'm doing the program. I hear the news, right? And they come through and say that during the Democrats' rebuttal or whatever on Saturday, is that the deficit's going to explode. And it's just like, it makes your head explode. Under Obama, all the Democrats didn't want to do anything, and our deficit hadn't been exploded that much in the entire past.
Right.
And so it's okay if your guy does $9 trillion of debt, and we can't see if we can't bend the curve here and get our economy growing more. Yeah, I'm really sure they're worried about it. But it is one of those things where you look at it and you go, this is just crazy that we have to go through all the time, but it has helped constrain somewhat a group of people that have no constraints at all. And that's how do we buy more votes? Well,
let's go right into the tax reform bill. The Democrats are mad. They think it's bad. What say you, Dave Petzo?
Hey, it's certainly far from perfect, but something is better than nothing, and therefore I'm going to call it good. I think it's good that we're cutting rates. I think it's incredibly important that we have corporate tax reform. Otherwise, we're going to continue to watch corporations, and they should move overseas. People say, well, we need to stop companies from doing that. Well, why? How? Why should you stop free commerce? I mean, that makes no sense. That's never helped any country ever. That's like free trade. It doesn't help to shut down your borders to trade. So you have to have also free commerce. These companies have been moving and will continue to keep moving, and they should move. It's their job to continue to drive profits forward and grow. And you can't do that and can't compete in a world when you have the highest tax rates in the world. So this is very important to the overall economy, and I think it's really going to help GDP a good bit by doing that.
Dave Petzo with us, KIDO Talk Radio, Money Matters, Saturdays 8 to 10. Let's talk a little bit about GDP. A lot of people think that the president thinks it could go to 5. Goldman's saying it's going to go to 4. Your thoughts, and really, what does that mean for all of us that are still working today on our way into work, whether it's in Meridian or CUNA or on the connector right now?
Kevin, if you have 4% GDP growth, and I think 5 is a bit strong and might not be actually good news because of the potential for inflation heating up. But again, that's another topic we should probably touch on sometime, is what technology is doing to, in my opinion, to temper inflation in all areas of our life. But when we get to 4% GDP, what you've got is obviously a booming economy. You have tax revenues, therefore, that are going to be exploding. So we're going to see from a person driving down the connector is going to be making more money. You're going to be their investments, their 401k is going to be doing very, very well. And so they'll have that wealth effect as well. Kevin, it's a big deal to get the economy growing 4%. And people who want to start a business have always said, hey, someday I want to do X, Y, and Z, and have felt a little constrained. You get 4% growth, and those animal spirits that we talk about all the time, they come out, and they also come out in the individual. I can do this. The times are good, and people are feeling more abundant, and they come out of the woodwork and start their businesses and live their dreams.
When's the last time we've really seen 4%?
Consistently? It would be first part of W's. That's it. I mean, Clinton and W. Obviously, my opinion is I feel very strongly that Ronald Reagan opened that up in 1980 when tax rates were cut to 28%. And the economy exploded, and then on top of that, we also won the Cold War.
What about when we take a look at this, Dave Petzo? You have people saying it's going to blow up the debt.
That's nonsense.
You just addressed it, but
yeah. Well, I think it needs more addressing because people just don't. For some reason, they don't understand. They do, but they don't want to. And that is, if we cut taxes, then people react to that. And every time in history, whether it's Democrats or Republicans, when taxes are cut, regardless of what they say, the revenues increase. And I don't know why it's a feeling. I don't understand. I don't understand. Here's our motto of our party. We want more control over your life. We want to take more of your money, and we want to control and increase the number of rules in your life. That's what our moniker is, and that's the Democratic Party. And I don't understand it. It makes no sense to me that that's what they do. But they fight on every front to not have you make decisions in your life of where you're going to spend your money, meaning that we want to take more and more tax money, and also where you are overregulated, both. It makes it very difficult to generate more. So now we take that off and we tax less. The economy runs freely, and what happens is you actually increase revenue. It has happened every time. And we're going to wait and see. But you can't dynamically test in a sense that now we know exactly what it's going to do. But if this economy grows 4% a year, you will not see this tax bill cost a nickel. It will make money for the Treasury of the United States.
More with Dave Petzo next. You're listening to Kevin Miller on KIDO Talk Radio. And Pete, make sure you hang on. We'll talk about the lady with the gun coming up. Or Dave Petzo, you want to talk to Pete, talk a little bit about a gun and an intruder in Garden City?
About a gun and an intruder. Right up. Since I don't have a gun, that's right up my lane.
Well, you never should self-report that. But
you're right. Well, I'm getting one.
Okay.
So don't mug me in the parking lot.
Well, we have a couple places that you can buy guns at. Pete, good morning. You're on with Dave Petzo and Kevin Miller. Hello, Pete.
Hey, there's a slightly modified saying of the Old West: God created men and women, but Sam Colt made them equal. Yeah. And that lady in Garden City, when somebody kicked her door in or broke into her house, she was the first responder. Didn't have time to call 911 and wait, 5 minutes for the police to show up. And she put a gun on the guy, and he left quickly, apparently.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And one thing that I'd like to point out that's kind of interesting is women who are attending BSU and living in university housing do not have that option. Apparently, BSU does not allow them to have firearms in their apartments, which I think is kind of inconsiderate, shall we say, of BSU, that people who live in university housing cannot defend themselves.
Well, all right, Pete. We appreciate it, brother.
And I would also like to mention something that I heard on the tax law. Dave might be able to comment on this. Apparently, the governments in the European Union are not happy with this law because it will hurt their economy.
Oh, hurt a big time, I would imagine.
Mm-hmm. And my response is, 21% corporate tax rate, that ought to bring some businesses back to America.
Absolutely.
And I think it's just funny that the Democrats are so deeply concerned, and I think on their part it's politics because they know what this tax bill will do.
It's always politics.
Yeah. Anyway, thank you, Dave, for your analysis. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Thanks, Pete.
Thank you, Pete. Your thoughts, Dave Petzo.
Hey, I think it's incredible. Pete has a good point. Let's face it. It's one of those things where you sit back and you go, really? So we're going to be reporting that we're worried about Europe is upset because we're going to become more competitive. Seriously? That's actually a worry. And it is to globalists, isn't it? I mean, when you stop and think about it, it really is. That people are more concerned about being cool to the French than kicking their rear all over the world in business. It seems very weird to me, but that's where we're at in this world.
Dave Petzo joining us here at KIDO Talk Radio. There's a story that I've been talking about, and it's rather troubling. Jerry Richardson, who owns the Carolina Panthers, it looks like he's going to sell. Apparently, Mr. Richardson had a thing called Jeans Day, and he would comment to the young ladies about how they looked in jeans, and he would do some other things. Now, there was never a complaint filed against him because he settled everything out of court with these agreements, and now it's coming to light. And then you have this guy who, by the way, he started the Hardee's franchises.
Really?
Yeah, and then worked his way up to owning the Denny's and the Hardee's and the Carl Jr.'s and everything else. But he's been rolling since, 1958, where he caught a touchdown pass in the old, not the Super Bowl, the old NFL championship game from Johnny Unitas. He's 81 years old.
Wow.
Right. So the story comes out. Now it looks like he's going to sell, which is odd because you think, boy, just to sell something that you created from nothing.
Yeah.
It goes to show you that a lot of good works can be undone in the age we live in, and not going back and forth on what he did or didn't do, but it shows you that, again, this guy contributed a lot to charity and everything else, and now it's just undone.
Yeah, it is. You can't undo it. It's like they say, it really is something to always bear in mind. We've talked about it, and we talk about it all the time. It takes a lifetime to build up a good reputation. And, again, not patting ourselves on the back, we have that, Kevin. We have a good reputation in town here and have for a long time. We also recognize, just like that, you lose it. And so it really becomes a focus that you have to be careful. And hopefully you just live your life with that care. But this is a crazy time, Kevin. There's an awful lot of people that we didn't think this of. And, I walk around like a lot of guys I know that are just like, I don't know what's going on. I don't know these people. I don't live in that world.
Right.
We tease each other. We know each other. We love each other at the office. I mean, we really do. And so we've known each other for, like Jennifer Stone, who runs our office in our company, is 22 years with me. So, I mean,
right.
These are the kinds of things. So I walk in, I go, do I have, is there anything, help me here. I don't understand this. I don't even know these people. What's going on? And we're all, even the ladies, I think, are confused by all this, too, because you can't go back to stuff 20 years ago. The world is different. We all acted differently 20 years ago in all business.
Right.
It's not that, some of these things aren't true. I'm sure they're quite true, and I'm sure they're terrible, and they need to be dealt with. But this idea of going back 20 years ago, right before elections and things like that, is a very dangerous thing in our society today. So, or people are guilty before, automatically upon accusation. So it's a tumultuous time, Kevin, and reputations are being lifetime great reputations are being ruined in a heartbeat. And I just hope that through this we come through it in some kind of a better truth, if you will, and a better way of dealing with this going forward.
Traffic and weather together, KIDO Talk Radio. And Dave Petzo with us as we continue on. So, Dave, it's been a while since we've talked about this. The governor's race, once we get back in the new year rolling, you'll have the legislature meeting. I'm sure it'll be an abbreviated session. And you've got three big names going at it. Plus, you've got Mr. Belukoff, a very successful local businessman. Looks like he's going to make another run at it as well. Yeah,
I'll tell you what. There's four strong candidates this year. It's interesting.
Are you joining them?
I will not be in the fray. No.
Okay.
No. Politics becomes less and less intriguing to me as I live. I guess I'm getting more cynical. I'm just looking for a few good men, and it's hard to find them in politics, isn't it? It's just a tough business. Anyway, I'm excited about the governor's race. I'm excited about the potential changes, and And I've always been a supporter of Butch Otter, as you know. I think he's been he's a good businessman. He brought that kind of a mentality. And people forget that in 2008, he took a lot of flack for cutbacks early in 2008. And I mean, he took flack from his own party. Obviously, the Democrats were all over it. But the reality is he saw a downturn potentially really hurting the state, and he got out in front of it, and it made all the difference in the world. He doesn't get any credit for that because it's past. But it's probably a good time for a change and perhaps just kind of moving a new vision forward for Idaho. But what a great job he did bringing business, especially down in the Magic Valley, and getting people don't recognize how big a deal it is to be able to say, I want to put a factory there. Well, if you'd like to, we could get the doors open within a year. That's huge. California has $10 billion sitting there waiting for their their high-speed train from L.A. to San Francisco. 10 years. They've not laid a single piece of track. They're still going through environmental impacts and whatever other stuff they need to do. So where is business going? Anywhere but places like that. And Governor Otter, through that red tape process, who didn't give away the tax farm, he made sure that there were regulations were out of the way for these companies to expand.
Well, it's going to be a very competitive race.
It will be. I think it's going to be very interesting. It should be a very interesting year. The Republican candidates are strong. I mean, they're super strong. Brad Little is kind of the guy there, right? So the party itself will probably be more supportive of him initially. But these other two have their own money, and they're ready to roll. And Labrador is late to the race, but is a well-thought-of candidate as well.
Anything else?
Anything else? What do you want to talk about? I got all kinds of stuff we can talk about.
I just, it's almost like you're a television announcer here. You're not really saying anything. I just your thoughts on, the individual candidates. I guess we can wait. You want
to talk about who I like?
Well, no, just I think you have three very unique and diverse candidates that appeal to a segment of the populace. You have Brad Little with the ag folks. You have Dr. Ahlquist with the builders and the entrepreneurs, and you have Congressman Labrador with the conservative base. Yeah,
I agree, but I think all of them have experience, or at least business experience for Ahlquist, and we'll see. I'm not sure how well that kind of and we're talking about the downtown Boise climate, how well that's going to appeal for him to the conservative base. Boise's not that conservative.
Sure.
And dealing with the downtown folks requires moving across the aisle for sure.
Well, you say
whether
the same
that's
thing
positive
about
or not.
Donald Trump?
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. No, there's no question. It's going to be very interesting to see if Ahlquist can get through the primary.
Like I said,
yeah.
You're right. I don't know. But it's fascinating to see all these folks working very hard for the future of the state, both Labrador, Ahlquist, and Little.
It is. It's going to be good because we're going to get a lot of intense discussion out there, and I think that's good. Where's the state going? And just that discussion is good. Are you going to ask them
the tough questions?
If I had the opportunity, I'm all over it.
Sometimes you jump into the fray here with the politicos. I'm just wondering.
We need to get them on a big old town hall thing.
Are you going to sit back and just kind of do your own thing? I mean, you ask the tough questions.
I'm happy to.
Somebody around here.
We bring it. Yeah, bring them in. We'll do it. I'd love to.
All right, Dave Petso, inviting everybody in. Are you coming tomorrow to the Christmas party?
Yeah. Is it safe? I heard you talk about it earlier.
Yes.
Sounds like you got in a lot of trouble last year.
I'm a little scared actually. Yes.
I may just have to pop in just to see what happens.
To get a good laugh, yes.
That's it. Yes. Yeah. Bring my newly acquired gun.
All right. On that note, Dave Petso, thank you.
Thank you.
You're listening to Kevin Miller on KIDO Talk Radio. Good morning, Maggie. Good. I love our friend Terry from State College, Pennsylvania, letting us know that Bitcoin became more valuable than all of Walmart. I think we can officially say that Bitcoin has jumped the shark. Let's go to Tom in Nampa with Kevin Miller at KIDO Talk Radio. Good morning, Tom.
Well, good morning. I'm sorry your guest left before I had a chance to call you. I wanted to debate him a little bit on this tax cut. I guess it looks like they've got something hammered out that's going to pass this week. I'm opposed to it. I don't think this is any time to cut taxes when the deficit's still running about $600 billion a year. This to cut is, I think, totally unnecessary. The economy's moving ahead pretty good now that we have a president that's not regulating it to death. And what was it, 3.3% in the last quarter? Something like that.
Sounds about right, yeah.
Yeah. Well, anyway, they're saying it's going to add $1.5 trillion to the national debt. And if you get the economy going too fast, there's a little something called inflation always comes along. And whenever inflation starts going up, the Fed's already starting to ratchet up interest rates. I think the producer price index went up 3.6% in the last 12 months, which is the most it's done in about 10 years. And so when you have a $20 trillion national debt, and if interest rates start to go, say, 5%, that's $1 trillion a year just to pay interest on the debt. And that's something you can't reduce. And so I wonder what they're going to do when, they start getting higher inflation and, they got to pay more interest. And, of course, every business cycle, we've had them since day one of, overheating. And then there's a recession. And then, of course, that's when the revenues really drop, which we saw during Obama's first term. I think they were up $1.5 trillion a year. And so nobody seems to be worried about the debt anymore.
We can say that for a long time. I think Mike Crapo's worried about the debt, but he's about it.
Yeah, I mean, where's the fiscal responsibility? Democrats want to tax and spend, and the Republicans now want to borrow and spend just a can down the road. I don't think taxes are that high. They keep crying about the corporate tax rate being so high. It used to be 55% was the top bracket, and Reagan cut that down in his first tax cut, and they were needed back in the 80s because we had inflation and people got bumped into higher tax brackets. And now they have indexed the rates, and so I think they're just about right. And you don't hit the 35% tax bracket on the corporate taxes until you hit $18 million. So small businesses can pay anything like that, and the larger businesses have offsets, different gimmicks where they get out of taxes, and their effective rate is far less than 35%. At one time, corporate taxes made up 30% of federal revenues. Now it's 9%. And so I just think that this is just a boon to the big corporations, and I think John Q. Public is going to be hurting. They're going to do away with personal exemptions, and then, of course, they're going to give you a bigger standard deduction. What does that do for people like me that itemize? Nothing. I lose a $4,000 personal exemption, and they're going to expand the child tax credit. But as soon as your kid gets to be 17, you lose that. So not only have you lost your personal exemptions.
And you're a Republican.
You better believe I'm a Republican. I think we need to balance this budget. Last year's budget was $600 billion.
Nobody wants to balance the budget.
Nobody wants to. And you have a structural deficit. But anyway, let me finish about the tax exemptions. So, okay, they're going to expand the child tax credit.
Right, from $1,000 to $2,000, right?
Yeah, well, you lose that as soon as your child turns 17. So if you're putting your kids through college at the time when you need the greatest amount of your money to help put them through college, you lose that. And if
or maybe they could
$16,000 more.
Right, or maybe they could pay their own way through college.
Well, yeah, if they've got a job. But some of them, nobody. It's so expensive to go to college now. Nobody can pay their own way through college. I did when I went. It was less than $2,000. Now it's $30,000. So I don't think they should have ever got rid of the personal tax exemption. Because what does that do for somebody who doesn't even have any kids? I don't know. I just think it's a wrong time to cut taxes. I think they're about right. Most people, personal income taxes.
Now, hold on. You like paying the taxes.
Well, I don't like paying taxes, but let's face it, we got to have revenue to run the government.
What about all the money that will be repatriated because the tax rates will be lower?
Well, they always say that the revenues go up you look at the charts, every time they've cut them, the revenues go down for a number of years. And so we had a $250 billion surplus when Bush came in. So there was justification for cutting the rates. Otherwise, they'd figure out some way to spend it. We have a $600 billion deficit. How in the world, if suddenly you had a big wage cut, or were out of a job, or your wife, worse off, your wife got laid off, and then your income goes down, how is that any time to further cut revenue sources? I mean, if we were running surpluses, I could see it.
Well, I don't think
we're not running surpluses.
Right.
The deficit has been going. It's actually.
Tom, I appreciate the call, and I really appreciate that. And you're passionate, but that was 6.5 minutes of the monologue, and I appreciate that. But the idea that neither party is doing anything about the debt and the deficit, you're right. They're not going to do anything about the debt or the deficit. The difference is between what we had with Obama, nobody was employed, stagnation. People want their money back, and they should be able to get their money back. And one day, I don't know if it'll be during your lifetime, sir, or mine, that we will get serious about the debt, and it is a bipartisan issue. But the idea of the economy coming back, I think, appeals to just about every American that has been with taking the beating of the Obama administration. And we can look at charts and everything else, but one thing that we cannot debate is what's going on with the stock market, what's going on with people that are being employed, and the idea that you're going to get a break from people working 2 or 3 jobs. I think that's the issue. My dream for Americans, and Donald Trump, like him or not, is the only guy that gets it, is to help to restore the great American working class. People that are in their 50s and 60s, working jobs they never thought they would do, but they're grateful for a job. Helping them, and maybe helping those businesses to hire more people. We all are responsible for our own fiscal health, but I'd rather have what Trump's doing than what we've seen under Obama. As I said before, we will never know how bad Obama destroyed America until we're out of this for about 8 or 10 years. It's going to take that long to get it back, if we can ever get it back at all. Not just talking liberally, socially, culturally, but economically. Look at all the regulations that are just hitting the road. Thankfully, that Obama is gone. Now, the deep state still fights back again and again, but still, people need a break. And we're going to talk about the deficit skyrocketed under Obama. Look at what Obama did. He ran up the biggest debt that you combine all the presidencies combined, and he exceeded it. And not one person critical of him. That's what we're up against. And to get the economy going, people are going to spend more, buy more, pay more in taxes. I think that's a good thing. 580-5436, 580-KIDO. You're listening to Kevin Miller on KIDO Talk Radio. And good morning, Kevin Miller in the morning here at KIDO Talk Radio. Thank you all for joining us. Phone numbers 580-5436, 580-KIDO. Congratulations, by the way, to the Boise State Broncos beating Oregon in the Las Vegas Bowl. And I think there's a little buyer's regret there with the Oregon Ducks. At one time, one of the most dominant, scary programs in all of college football. When they had Chip, don't call him Chipper Kelly, now the coach of the UCLA Bruins. It was great to see so many people all in their Bronco gear, fired up and ready to go over the weekend. And as a Ducks fan, it was rather disappointing to see Oregon just not show up and, got a little chippy and such. But as I was talking to the television over the weekend, I thought to myself, what did Chip Kelly go, like 49-3 or something like that in 4 or 5 years there? And one of those losses was to Boise State here. Just shows you when you have someone who's an innovator, whether it's in politics, whether it's in business, what a difference the right individual can make. And then when you replace that individual with, someone who means well, it never translates. And as much as we talk about computers And as much as we talk about everything else, it all comes down to people, the special people making that happen. And Brian Harsin, one more year like this, the big programs will be coming calling if they haven't already. And people are saying that the Broncos are set up for a great run, and that means a great run for the community. We'll see how that plays out. But again, congratulations to the Broncos, the Bronco fans. Again, and that's from a person that loves the Tide and loves the Ducks under Chip Kelly. I guess I just have to keep saying under Chip Kelly because the team I saw just was whooped. Coming up, we'll talk a little bit more about a small business owner in Garden City is hoping to sell extracted oil from the cannabis. Now, the folks in Garden City and other folks are saying, nope, you can't do it because it's illegal in the state of Idaho. Michael Larson applied for a building permit in Garden City in February. The goal was to sell products containing extract of cannabis oil with little to no THC, marijuana's intoxicant component. The city attorney denied the application in May, resulting in a month-long back and forth whether or not Larson's products are legal in the state of Idaho. Now, again, from our friends at Channel 7 here, a 2015 state attorney general's opinion says oils extracted from the cannabis are a controlled substance, but it says such products can be considered legal if they contain no THC. Larson has said his products are free of THC. The city is asking him to provide a sample for testing along with assurances from an expert. That doesn't seem bad to me. And if you can have these oils that a lot of folks believe and have seen do very well without the bad parts of marijuana and you can keep it regulated, why not let the guy roll in? But again, it's up to the state. It's up to the local officials to make sure that happens. 580-5436, 580-KIDO. And again, as we talk about endlessly here, the idea of legalizing marijuana in this state for recreational use is abhorrent. On the other hand, medically, it has been shown to do some good work. The problem is once you open up the gateway, how do you stop it? More on that in a minute. Time for and Kevin Miller in the morning here at KIDO Talk Radio. Phone numbers 580-5436, 580-KIDO. So you have this gentleman here. He wants to have his oils. He says that, look, no harm, no foul. It's not going to be that big of a deal. Then the state says, not so fast, my friend. You have to get it checked. And when you're dealing with a controlled substance, when you're dealing with cannabis, when you're dealing with the fact of legalizing something and making an exemption, I think the state folks are right. I think they're right to sit there and say, let's hold off on this, little buddy. We'll see how it plays out. We go to Liberal Steve at KIDO Talk Radio with Kevin Miller in the morning. Good morning, Liberal Steve.
Good morning. Oh, you try and slam Obama for all the hurts and aches and pains constantly, and half the stuff that he redid wasn't set up by Obama. And, you know, when it come to the crash in 2008, right up to the end, they were building houses, left things just sitting. Banks ran out of cash, and now the same game is going on. You hear about the refis on TV and on the radio. I'm coming to your town. I'll teach you how to flip houses. Housing is at an all-time high. People can't find a place to live. It doesn't matter what stocks are doing. It's what the dollar is doing as far as the worth. And the worth of the dollar right now sucks big time. So a crash could happen.
How can you say that when we have unemployment at all-time lows, where we have the market at an all-time high? And like you, I'm not a market guy, but you can't argue with the success that's rolling right now. Or are you saying it's just a giant bubble?
Employment in spring of 2008 was neck and neck almost to where it's at right now. And then there was a crash. Kevin, what I'm saying is the same backhanded stuff is going on. Same thing. The money does not go where it should go for the United States of America. It goes into the deep state. So, and you figure out who that is, and you'll be rich. And then what's with these aliens? for the last how many years, 60, 70 years, flying out of the water and flying from one dimension into the next and all over, and the NASA seeing them and pilots seeing them, and oh man, why don't we just shoot them down?
I don't think we can. Are you coming in tomorrow or not?
No, I won't.
All right.
Come in there and celebrate Christmas. You know why? Because I don't have any gas money, Kevin. Until you send me $20, I'll be there. I'll be there with bells on.
Well, it starts at 6.
I'll start you at 6.
Bring it. Don't
See you
sing it.
tomorrow, Creek Don't Rise. And Merry Christmas, in case I don't make it. Merry Christmas to Idaho and all of America. And you people in Atlanta, get out on the road and stick your thumb out.
He hung up on himself. Operator error. All right, Fox News next. Stay tuned. Stay informed. KIDO Talk Radio.